Hello, I am Perez Hilton, and you are watching AntiNews. AntiNews, for those of you who are soulless, catty, ginger shills, that is the podcast for you and me.
Oh. Hello.
What just happened?
Oh, just a whole lot of fun stuff. That was Perez Hilton's new plug for the show. He's a good friend of the show now. No explanation needed. If you want to know how and why that just happened, feel free to go sign up for the Downers Club, and that'll all be explained in there in the after party. But welcome to the Anti-News. Welcome back to the least popular news show on the web, and almost the least credentialed, aside from CNN, of course. But this is the place where we talk about everything that happened in the last week and review some of the really important, exciting current events in the world and break them down in our own uncomfortable manner. Craig and I are your hosts. And Craig, how's it going?
It's going good. I almost jumped the gun there because you're like, and Craig and I are the hosts.
That's just how it came out. I intended to do the way that it sounded like it was going to be, but this is the place where we drink the drinks and smoke the smokes and have a good chill time recapping what happened in the week. Craig, what are you drinking? What are you smoking? Let's get into this. I know we don't have as much time as usual tonight.
Still working on my holiday nog special, coffee nog and the bourbon, because I haven't given that up yet. Maybe after January 1st, I'll switch my drink choice to something less festive. But I still have my Christmas tree up, so I'm going to still drink the nog.
Right on.
And I ran out of my fuggin' juice, and my new order has not come yet. So
unfortunate.
I had to stop and get some local stuff. The graham cracker custard. I think I've mentioned it before. It's actually really delicious, but it's so much more expensive than ordering it through our favorite soon-to-be sponsors, Fuggin' Vapors, or Fuggin' Vapes, or Vapors.com or something.
There's a reason why they're not sponsors yet. It's because you don't even know what their name is. But hopefully, if that ever comes through, we'll figure out what the name of the company is. But
if they just sponsored us to the point where they gave us some free juice to vape while we aired these shows, I'd be okay with that.
Good enough for me, yep. So I'm drinking a delicious Christmas appletini. Kayla got me some appletini mix in my stocking yesterday, so I've been enjoying the heck out of that. But I am currently vaping.
I had some at like...
What?
I saw you had some at like 10 a.m. Christmas morning.
I did. You got to start out Christmas the right way, especially when you're hanging out with family all day. But I am vaping. What is this? What did I get? What do I have right now? Oh, it's the Chi Berry that you were vaping a couple weeks ago or talking about or something. Nice strawberry cheesecake, delicious. So check out Fuggin' Vapors at fugginvaporco.com. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, Craig,
I'm pretty sure I still have a small bottle of what I like to call Chi Berry donuts.
Yeah, Chi Berry donuts. So it's the final
a little bit of Chi Berry.
The leftovers from each. Yeah, I've got a few mixtures myself. Yes. Yep. It's important to keep a good mixture on hand for emergencies. But Craig, how did your Christmas week go so far? What'd you do? Give the brief. I know we have a hard time doing the brief, but give me the briefing of your Christmas.
It's pretty brief because it was pretty low key. Over the weekend, I went to the in-laws and spent most of the day there. Most of the weekend, I was trying to find a copy of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation because I have never seen it up till just recently.
I don't think I've seen it either.
I know, and I get so much shit for it because people are like, "Oh, I'm watching National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation." I'm like, "I've never seen it." What? You've never seen? It's a classic, man. How? I don't even want to be friends with you anmore. And so
there are so many quote unquote classic movies that I have yet to see and get shit for. The list of classic movies that I should see that I haven't seen It's much longer than the list of ones that I have seen. But I did similar. I went to the in-laws, hung out, played some ping pong, which is great. Drank some drinks, smoked some smokes, and had a good old jolly Christmas time. Is that it? Is that it for you? Is that
I
it?
did find a copy yesterday at my brother-in-law was gone for Christmas, and last weekend they were watching it when me and him were out in his garage doing something, and I had mentioned that I wanted to borrow it, and his wife's like, "Yeah, it's not happening." I was like, "Oh, thanks a lot." And then
All right.
yesterday I think it was over the weekend, I stopped at Family Video, and I picked up the case to Jingle All the Way, the case to the Santa Claus, and the case to Christmas Vacation. Took him up to the counter, and he's like, "Oh, was there any of the clear cases behind it?" I was like, "Shit, nope, there wasn't." And
For
so
each one?
I didn't get it there.
Or just that
Yeah,
one?
none of them. All of them, all the above. No good Christmas movies were available.
Nice.
We ended up buying a copy of Elf for like $10 there, and then
Should have got out on
got
Black
another
Friday.
random one. Well, I know. I realize that
I
now.
got Jingle All the
But,
Way and Elf this year on Black Friday. I think for $5 or $6 each, which still isn't great for Black Friday for old movies, but they're Christmas classics.
Right. I ended up renting Jingle All the Way on Amazon Prime for like $3,
Mm-hmm.
and then so we watched that Christmas Eve, I think, or
That's when
Sunday.
we
one
watched
of
it
the two.
too.
And then I texted my brother-in-law and was like, I cannot find. Well, I think he texted me. He's like, "Have you seen Christmas Vacation yet?" I was like, "No, I can't find a copy anywhere." And he was like, "Oh, just come borrow ours." The same one whose wife said not happening.
Yeah.
So I texted him yesterday. He wasn't home. He's like, "Oh, but my front door is open." So I broke into his house and stole his copy of Christmas Vacation. And last night I was able to watch it on Christmas Day. What a great experience.
So a lot of times we kick off the show with the entertainment news. I suppose we can get your brief thoughts on Christmas Vacation. Is it all the rave? Is it everything that you've heard and more?
It's pretty good. I've heard you have to watch it several times to really get a good feel for it and get some of the humor that's going on. But it's super random. It's all like one basic story, but it's super random. A bunch of things thrown in here and there. But overall, yes, it's really funny, and I would definitely probably make it a tradition to watch it every year because it did hold up to the hype, especially for a 1980s Christmas hit with Chevy Chase.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I didn't realize that the little boy, probably like 12-year-old boy, so not that little. The boy on it is Johnny Galecki, David from Roseanne, or Leonard from Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
And you don't know either of those shows,
Not really,
so
no.
you're
No.
probably not. Everyone who's listening is like, "Oh, I didn't realize that," but you're like, "Oh, okay, sweet."
Yeah, the most
That
I know
one guy.
about the Roseanne show is the first 2 episodes of the newest season and the first 2 episodes of the Connors, and that's about it. So it's
that's
it.
Darlene's ex-husband. I don't know if you saw any of the episodes with him on it.
I don't remember. But
Sure.
we got to talk very briefly about Jingle All the Way because that was one of our favorite Christmas classics as children. Which watching it back, I'm surprised we were allowed to watch for a few reasons. But that one, do you think that movie holds up still?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think I got more of a kick out of it. Especially being the time it was. I don't think our kids really truly appreciate it at the level we do for whatever reason. They thought it was funny, but I think it's more funny now because it does throw in some adult humor there.
Yeah.
And my kids are like, "What's so funny about that?" It's like, shut up. Don't worry about it.
Yep. We'll laugh together in a couple of years. Just let it go. Yeah. Mom's across the street petting Ted is a great line. But
Yes.
yeah, the movie does hold up for me. I still really enjoy it. It might just be because I loved it back then. I don't know. My kids got a kick out of a lot of it. Watching it now, I realize much more strongly that movie is just one giant cluster F. Like the whole thing is just over and over and over. I like this mailman. He's cool, and then he's the enemy. And okay, now I'm down in the dumps. Now I meet the mailman. I like him. Now he's the enemy. Like it happens like 3 or 4 times. The exact same idea throughout the movie, and the whole thing is just one giant slapstick joke. of people falling down, but it works somehow. It works on a strange level.
It's kind of disturbing that the bomb actually goes off. It's more disturbing now. And
yeah, I don't think Kayla had ever seen it, and she was watching it. She was like, the bomb should have gone off, and I was just sitting there waiting for it. And I love that it doesn't show the bomb. You just hear a poof in the background, and she, like, her mouth dropped. She was like, what? I thought it would have been way better if they didn't show, like, cut back to the cops there and show the guy with, like, his hair.
I know.
All, whatever. Just let it explode and then leave it at that.
Just let him be dead.
That would have been a much more beautifully dark, funny thing to throw in there. But, yeah, I like the movie. Do you know if you watched the extended version or the theatrical version?
What's the difference? What's added in
I'm not
the extended?
entirely sure, but I watched the extended, and it seemed like the end where he's Turbo Man and Sinbad is whatever, the bad guy, when they're doing the fight, that scene seemed way longer and way more ridiculous than I remember it. I could be wrong, but like when he's flying around on the jetpack and I mean, it's really bad CG, and he like runs into the building and then like goes like his body shakes like it's a stiff board. Like
that was on the old one.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was or not. I thought it probably was.
I definitely remember that part.
I don't remember it being that bizarre as it was. Like it really, the whole movie is kind of like outside of reality, but that scene in particular was like just freaking insane. Also, watching it back, it's like this dude went out in the morning, probably like 7 or 8, to get this thing, and goes through all this shit all in one day. Like the whole movie basically is within 24 hours on Christmas.
In New York.
Right. Yeah.
And how does he keep running into Sinbad the mailman all across
the same
New
cop?
York?
And not to mention the fact that in the movie opens the day before on Christmas Eve, and he can't get across town to get to his kid's karate thing. Like, traffic is terrible on Christmas Eve, but for some reason, on Christmas Day, he can carry out a million different plots and a million different shenanigans.
Of course.
Anyway.
That's what makes the movie so fantastic.
Indeed.
I think this is the first time I've watched it since our youth.
I don't think I've watched it since I've been married, at least.
Yeah, so it was nice to relive my childhood.
Definitely. I had a Turbo Man doll when I was a kid. I don't know how that was actually a thing. Like, the fact that there was merchandising for a movie like that. You don't see, like, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer action figures or anything. Like, it seems strange that it made it into stores, but blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares about our movie nostalgia. Let's jump into this and get into some news. But before we do we've got to kick it off with some motivational intros, so stick around.
All I ask is, if we have to give these bastards our lives, we give them hell before we do!
The tragedy of our day is the climate of fear in which we live.
Talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing.
Ask the congressman to withdraw that comment and tell us that he didn't really mean that. I don't know what I said. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
The Bible commands that certain people be put to death.
Thieves were possessing weapons of mass destruction. 9/11 attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda.
Handle the truth.
I remember that with Matthew Moses. We are still here!
We have to say yes to socialism.
No. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Alrighty. So we're gonna jump into some news. Before we do that, gotta remind you guys that if you would like to call in and leave us a nice, happy voicemail, make our week start or mid. I don't ever remember when these come out. Time has no meaning anymore. But if you'd like to make our week better, send us a cheery or angry message. Either way is perfectly fine with me. You can do so by calling in at the number down at the bottom of the screen, right there. Or you can, if you're listening on audio, you just write this down. Get a piece of paper and a pencil. A pencil. It's 2019 now, almost. And call in to 309-716-3818. Let me double check here, make sure we don't have any new friendly voicemails from last week. Doesn't look like we do. It doesn't look like we do. But you can be the difference. You can be the change you want to see in the world and make this a funner place by interacting, since we're not live anymore at the moment. Call into the show, 309-716-3818. All right. So first on the agenda for the evening, of course, we have to talk about the gigantic news that feels like it was more than a week ago, but it wasn't. It just happened, I think, Christmas Eve or the day before. The whole buzz about, Trump deciding to make some good decisions that people will be outraged about. Did you hear about any of these decisions, Craig?
Oh, there's been a couple.
Yeah.
Does shutting down the government count?
In my book, yes. Well, kind of. I mean, whenever the government shuts down, I'm just happy that these people aren't doing anything because they do their best work when they're at home, and not in power.
But they get paid to do this.
I know. I agree. They shouldn't get paid, obviously, if they're not doing their job. But I'm just happy. I would rather my tax dollars go towards keeping them from making decisions than being in there making bad ones.
Fair enough. That's fair.
Yep.
Other than that, we let's see if I hit all of them on the head.
Go for it.
Trump says we're pulling out of Syria.
Ding.
Trump, what was the other? Hang on.
He's also flirting with pulling out of Afghanistan.
I thought we already pulled out of Afghanistan.
You would think so. Here we are.
There was another big one. What was it? I just had it, and then I decided to mention the other ones, and then I forgot it.
Hemp is officially legalized with President Trump's signature on Farm Bill.
That wasn't it, but that is awesome.
Yep. So did you have another one?
I thought there was another one. It involved, like, the military or Trump or something. I don't know.
Legit.
Yeah.
I'm convinced.
Right. I'll think about it.
All right, let's get into the war first. Trump. This comes from NewYorkPost.com, so you know it's legit. But Trump decided to pull U.S. troops out of Syria during phone call with Turkey. Here's the thing: all the people, all the hippies, all the flower children of the '70s, all the people who eventually became Democrats, whether or not, well, they haven't been that anti-war lately. But now, apparently, because it's Trump's idea, they're really not a fan of ending wars, which is staggering to me. But let me jump into this. Again, this is New York Post. President Trump made a... Just listen to the way they phrase this. President Trump made a knee-jerk decision to yank U.S. troops from Syria during a call with Turkish President Recep... I'm bad with names. Erdogan, probably. That was planned to focus on another issue, stunning both Erdogan and National Security Advisor John Bolton, who was also on the line. The extraordinary snap decision, along with Trump's claim that ISIS has been defeated, shocked Pentagon brass and Republicans at home and allies across the world, who were mystified at the abrupt change in U.S. policy. The purpose of the December 14th call, arranged by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, was to persuade Erdogan to back off on this threat to attack Syria's Kurdish fighters, according to a detailed AP report Friday. But the blah, 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 scrolling down along here. Why are you still there? Erdogan asked Trump, telling him that the Turks could deal with the remaining ISIS militants, one administration official said. I mean, there's not a ton to this. One official said the talking points were very firm, explaining that Trump was advised to clearly oppose a Turkish insertion into northern Syria and suggest the U.S. and Turkey work together to address security concerns. Basically, from my understanding, and I could be wrong, I'm going off some hearsay from trusted individuals, that we're not just yanking people out like they're trying to say. No matter what Trump does, it's going to be a bad decision in everybody's eyes because it's Trump. But what?
Didn't Obama make the same call with
He did.
Iraq?
He did, and he did it much
And-
more sloppily. He pulled people out and had no way of, keeping the area secure or keeping it stable or anything like that.
Right.
To my understanding, Trump is allowing some French military to move in and take the place on the bases, and we are just, quote-unquote, yanking our people out, which I don't even really give a shit if they're putting the French in there to keep things stable. I say yank them out 100%, because it's not our business.
Can the French really keep things stable? I mean, how many times did they lose their own country?
Yeah, that. I mean, Trump saying that, basically we're done, calling it a victory. I call it a victory, but he's kind of calling it a victory in the same way that that George W. Bush did many, many, many years ago, and we're still in Afghanistan. But
Right.
Trump is at least, he's being more careful with it, I think, than Obama was. And not only that, but I don't care. Pull him out. I don't like the word nationalist, but I think that our government should be 99.9% mostly concerned about our well-being and our defense. If somebody's attacking us, by all means, tear them down. But if you're just over there trying to end the quote-unquote war on terror that cannot be ended any more than the war on drugs, fighting an invisible enemy of terror, then I don't support it. I don't support us being there. I haven't in a very long time, and I'm all for bringing them back, with whether or not it goes smoothly or it's like ripping a Band-Aid off.
Yeah, and one of the bigwigs that must have been against it. I didn't actually read his statement, but General Mad Dog Mattis, the Secretary of Defense, he immediately decided to resign his post. He's not resigned currently. He's waiting till February because there's some big summit or something coming up in February that he doesn't want to push that off on somebody else. But yeah, almost that day or the next day, he's like, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah, I've heard a theory that I think has credibility that Trump told Mattis that you got to end this. You got to pull people out, if for nothing else, to make him look good by the end of the year. Like, do this, get us out of there, and we can move on. And then it didn't happen. So there's rumor going around that Trump gave him that ultimatum. It didn't happen, and Trump said, "Well, I mean, you're gonna have to step down, or I'm gonna have to fire you because you didn't do it, and I'm gonna make this happen with a phone call."
Yeah, it could go either way. Either way, General Mattis is like a world-renowned Marine general that's been involved in many wars. I don't have enough to call him a warmonger, but
yeah,
I mean, for him to be in his position, he's got to have some interest in war. Whether it be like
he's
he just
at least
loves
got intelligence in
sticking
war.
with it. Right. So for him to if Trump completely went against what he advised, then I could see him stepping down.
Sure.
And people are like, "Oh, he's another one of Trump's cabinet to resign in the last 2 years." And it's like, well, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing.
Nope.
I'm not saying Trump's making all the right decisions, but if Trump's making the right decisions and people are against him, then sure, resign and let somebody else fill the spot. But
right, it's like any other job. If you come in and you disagree with the boss like so heavily that you're going to go against everything he says, guess what's going to happen? You're suddenly going to be unemployed.
Right. And so, I mean, it's probably time for him to step down. The guy's old. Actually, he's probably like 35, but in military years, he looks like he's like 72.
Yeah.
Sidebar, I had this general come talk to us when I was in the military, and the guy looked old as shit. I mean, he just looked like he was pushing 70, and he gave this speech, like this big moto speech, and he mentioned that he's 51 years old. And I'm like, I need to get out of the military because I don't want to look like that when I'm 51 years old.
Exactly.
It's like 51's not that old, and you look old.
Yeah.
So
that's a safe place to segue into the hemp legalization as well, which there's not a ton to say on. It blows my mind that hemp has been illegal this whole time anyway. It's not marijuana. It's not a substance that you can get high off of. It is the use.
I was going to say, is there any possibility of getting any form of high off of hemp?
There might be some clever people out there that can pull it off. I'm not I don't know. I'm not an expert on weed in any stretch, but the way that it's typically used is, for paper and for rope and for everything. Like, it could replace a lot of the resources that we have right now and do so in a much cheaper fashion. And of course, I don't even know if it's rumor or if it's pretty evidently proven that the main reason it was illegalized to begin with was because of these different lobbies of of substances and products and stuff pushing for cotton over hemp and pushing for this and that to be used, more expensive things, but they were the business that they were in, and so it's been illegal for many, many years, and now it's not, which is a beautiful thing.
Well, paper takes how many hundreds of years to replenish trees, and hemp replenishes like every couple of years or something like that. So just the paper aspect alone would just do a shit ton in the world,
right,
in the industry of paper, and in this whole environment thing we got going on where we're killing off all our trees. And
it's funny that we live in a world where, like I said before, where hippies are outraged about everything that Trump does, or sorry, I'm getting a text, that hippies are outraged about anything that Trump does, and I use that term very loosely. Leftists, a lot of them formerly hippies, anything that Trump does is bad, orange man bad. But if and when hemp and marijuana are legalized, the idea of a former free-loving hippie, it's one thing for them to be anti-war, but for them to be anti-legalization of marijuana is going to be quite fun to watch.
Yeah, that's going to be entertaining. Well, he can't legalize marijuana because think of all the potheads that will come out. It's just like, what? That's what you wanted.
You mean you are afraid to do the thing that you do legally? I'm confused. Anyway,
yeah, it's gonna ruin the industry.
Yeah, speaking of Trump, did you hear about the wall deal that is going on?
Where he said, "Build the wall, or I'm going to shut down the whole government." And it's been shut down for 5 days.
Oh, there's that. But there's also this guy, this veteran, who's doing a GoFundMe to help raise money for the wall.
Apparently, they have the wall pretty much fully funded at this point. And it's been like 8 days or something like that.
Yeah, it raised several, like 6 or 8 million, which is not fully funded. I don't know where they're at right now. I'd have to check. But this former veteran who lost both legs and one of his arms in war is campaigning to have this GoFundMe to allow people to pay for the wall, which I am all for. I don't care that much about a wall personally, but I'm not necessarily against it either. And I am against taxing the U.S. citizens to build a wall. I'm not against voluntary taxation where people can donate to make this happen. Go for it. I think it's great.
Which it's very humorous. I saw a post on Facebook. It said, when Trump in 2016 said he was going to build a wall, leftists were like, well, how about all the people that voted for Trump pay for the wall, and we'll see how they like that. And then now,
they're like, oh, crap.
2018, there's a GoFundMe page where Trump supporters are funding the wall, and people are outraged about that too. It's like, what do you want?
Right. You
said to do this, and we did it.
Right. You gotta hand it to somebody who's like, I'm
not paying for it.
Yeah. No. Well, according to his page and everything, it would, if every Trump supporter contributed $60, the thing would be paid for, which is insane. But you know that if it was done by the government and the government was taxing for it, it would be a lot more than $60 per person, one-time flat fee.
Oh, of course. It'd be like $600 for the rest of your life.
Yep. So that's that. I don't really care to dig too much into that.
What are your thoughts of the wall? Do you want a wall? Is this a good idea? Is it going to even do anything? I mean,
like
We've
I said,
never really discussed it because it's such a moot point.
Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty indifferent. I am fine with there being a wall, and if it stops, one illegal alien from trafficking a child over the border, then yeah, let's do it. And I think that it would help at least slow down a lot of that stuff. It would not hurt. It would not hurt anything. It's not going to stop people from immigrating legally into the country. It's going to slow down a couple illegals from wandering in or trafficking children and drugs into the country or out of the country. And yeah, I don't care if the wall does or doesn't happen. I don't know the statistics well enough to know whether or not it would help. But as long as it's not coming out of my pocket, then by all means, go for it.
Sure. Yeah, I don't really have any super set opinion of it. I don't really think it's going to be built anytime soon.
No.
And I don't think this government shutdown is going to change anything. I don't think
I don't know. We might be surprised because I certainly didn't think that Trump was going to be like snap his fingers and say let's get out of Syria, snap his fingers and say let's legalize hemp either. There's a chance that, I mean, we're 2 years into his run. There's a chance that we're going to start seeing some ramped up attempts at public support at this point, where he's going to start trying to, in the climax of the Trump movie, push for a second running. Do you even think that Trump wants a second running at this point? Because he can't do anything that people don't hate.
I mean, why would you want to be in that position at this point?
Well, like you said from the beginning, if I run, it's not because I want to be president. It's because I think that we need to change something. If he honestly believes that, and he's doing these things rapid fire at the end of the year, I think that he might want to stick around.
But I think he's probably addicted to it. I think he's probably going to run again. He's not going to be like, no, I'll let somebody else do this. He's going to be like, I'm so great. I'm just going to keep on going with this and be greater.
Yeah.
The greatest.
Yeah, I think that could very well be the case, as long as it's not looking more imminent, possible, murder attempts or anything, assassinations. There's a fair chance he might stick around just because he's a power-hungry individual, and I think that goes without saying. So it could be.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what I see. I don't even know if we're gonna make it until 2020. so let's just live out the years as we go, one step at a time.
Yep, I agree. Well, I've covered about 3 stories. You got any that we could jump into before we hit the break here in a minute? You are muted. Cool, Craig.
I unmute. I was unmuted, and then I went to unmute, but I muted instead.
Oh, makes sense.
Let's see. I mean, Christmas was just yesterday, so this one popped up yesterday. So we gotta at least mention this, because we are still in the festive spirit, I guess. The outrage over Christmas is just getting a little more and more as the year progresses, and it didn't even stop on Christmas Day. The Washington Post, this is by Fox News reporting on the Washington Post. The Washington Post pondered. Yes.
All right.
The Washington Post ponders if kids should sit on Santa's lap amid the hashtag #MeToo movement. Moment of silence for eye rolling.
I can't roll my eyes any harder. It hurts. I'm going to damage my vision.
So Fox News' opening statement is, bah humbug.
If
the Washington Post...
I mean, do we even need to read this? It's obvious where this is going. Santas are pedophiles because they have kids sit on their laps. Of course, they're all being groped.
I mean, obviously. It says, Washington Post published the story, blah, 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 exactly what I just said. Wash Post, not WaPost, not WAPO. They shortened it to Wash Post. Gender and family issues reporter Samantha Schmidt penned the feature headline, Should Crying Children Sit on Santa's Lap for Photos? Here's why parents are saying no. So it's not even going the direction you say. It's because we're forcing kids to do what they don't want to do.
Wow. Okay, go ahead.
Says Schmidt opened the piece by painting a picture. of a 2-year-old girl who was reluctant to sit on Santa's lap during a recent trip to the mall, which frustrated the toddler's mother. Schmidt asked if her daughter was crying and resisting a photo on Santa's lap, should she make her go through with it? The reporter notes, well, first of all, my kids cry about a lot of things.
Right.
And I make them to go through with it.
Yep.
The reporter notes that a photo with Santa is still a childhood rite of passage for many Americans. It's like
not.
hazing.
It's not.
Hazing our children into
It's a fun thing, and some
childhood.
kids don't want to do it, and some kids do. Some kids cry if they don't get a toy, and that doesn't mean you get it for them. I don't
Right.
think that I don't care in the slightest if you force your kid to sit on Santa's lap. I certainly don't think it's a moral outrage issue. But if a parent says, no, I really want this picture, do it. Just like if they were crying before being in like a family photo, and you said, get in there and get that picture. If it's that important to the parent, then who gives a shit?
She says, but some parents have begun questioning the way the culture approaches photos with Santa amid the hashtag #MeToo movement and a national conversation over how to teach young children about consent and physical boundaries.
Good Lord.
Schmidt pondered what kind of message it sends to girls later in life if they were forced to sit on Santa's lap as a child. Some say it's a matter of simply listening to children and not forcing them to follow through with photos if they are scared or uneasy. Others have opted out of taking their children to meet Santa in the first place. Well, good on you. If you are uncomfortable with it, don't take your kid to see Santa.
Yeah, the people who are complaining about this aren't the parents who are doing it. It's the probably angry feminists who don't have children, so they just need something else to be outraged about.
Schmidt wrote before detailing various accounts of parents who object to forcing children to sit on Santa's lap. However, Schmidt acknowledged that many people will still partake in the holiday tradition. No shit. For many parents, merely putting Santa in the same sentence as hashtag #MeToo is an absurd overreaction and an attempt to politicize an innocent, beloved holiday ritual. Yes.
Agreed.
Schmidt also cited a developmental psychologist who feels lessons about consent and unwanted touching should start early, and parents could use the holiday tradition as an opportunity to teach their children that they are in control of their bodies.
Sure, that's fine. If they want to do that, that's fine.
The reporter added that most Santas are taught to make sure their hands are always visible. Well, that's smart. Obviously Santa shouldn't have his hands in his pockets or something when the kid's sitting down there. I mean, that's the end of it. That was the last sentence of this article.
Yeah, pretending like this has
to make sure his hands are visible.
Pretending like this has something to do with hashtag #MeToo makes it sound automatically. The intention is to make it sound like handsy, gropey Santas are out there molesting kids in front of their parents in malls. But really, what we're talking about is: does your child have the right to make all the decisions for themselves? And I would think that if they grow up in a household that is wholesome enough and respectful enough to be open and teach their kid about good and bad touch and, being in control of your own body, that Santa's not an issue in that case. They don't walk around fearing everyone. They know when something is right and when something is wrong. And if you introduce your kid to a stranger and the kid punches them in the knee because they're scared of them, then that kid's an asshole. I don't know. This is just stupid. It has nothing to do with...
So,
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, what about when your kid doesn't want to go stay at grandma and grandpa's house and throws a fit? Wouldn't that be in the same realm? Or what if
or
the
hug
kid
your
doesn't
grandma
want to
and
go
grandpa
to daycare?
Give them a hug goodbye or something.
Or go to stay at daycare.
Right.
I mean, that's a strange person, especially at the beginning, or school. Maybe the kid doesn't want to go sit at school and with this teacher because the teacher makes them feel uncomfortable. Should we just give in to that too? Because
it depends on how the teacher's making them feel uncomfortable.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's like
right.
Kids naturally sit on people's lap. Do I think they should just go run and sit on any stranger's lap? No, but this is just stretching stupidity at this point. Yep.
Yeah, I can't agree more, and I could rant about this one for a while, but I feel like I've made my point. It's dumb. I agree 100%. Teach your kids about, they're in control of their body, but this is not where you do it. You do it in a place that is where they should be concerned about people touching their body or coming in contact with them.
Right.
You don't do it in the middle of a mall when and if they took their kid there and their kid cries, they can choose to leave anyway because it's not going to be a good picture. Or they can say, this isn't going to hurt anything, and child, you know it's not going to hurt anything. Get over there, sit on Santa's lap. It's going to take 2 seconds, we'll get out of here. It's really a nothing issue that we're talking about here.
Did we ever talk about on here, somebody had mentioned, like, older toddlers who aren't potty trained yet asking their permission to change their diaper?
Yes, we did.
Did we talk about? Okay, just making sure we got all the 2018 covered before New Year's.
Yep. All right. So let's go ahead. Like I said, it's going to be a shorter one than usual. Let's go ahead and jump into the thank you intermission, where we say thank you to all of the patrons who support the show with their hard-earned and much appreciated dollars. And then we'll come back and wrap this 2018 year up with a few more news stories and give you a good send-off as we jump into the after party. But if you'd like to be a part of the patron program and have your name on this list, just go to patreon.com/thesystemisdown and sign up for as little as a cup of coffee a month and get all a giant plethora of backlog bonus audio and video content that comes out every single week. All right, stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Brett Glyer from Donor-C, and you are watching AntiNews Live.
Hi, this is Ole Dammergood from Light on Conspiracies, and you are watching AntiNews Live.
Hey, this is Brian McWilliams from Electric Liberty Land on the Lines of Liberty. You're watching Anti-News Live along with my lazy dog Hank here, who diarrheaed all over that couch. That's why that blanket's there. Enjoy!
And now it's time for that part of the show where we give a big thank you and a shout out to all the beautiful men and women who support this show with their hard-earned and much appreciated dollars. We could not do this without you. If you would like to increase the value of your life and get your name on this list, just go to patreon.com/thesystemisdown and join the Downers Club.
I'm done, I'm pissed, and I'm not putting up with it anymore. You Satanists want to sacrifice the West. You want to kill the beautiful goddess that is the West. You people are enemies, and we're going to get your asses, and we know what you're up to, and we're coming for you. So I've had enough of these people. Okay, so I've been containing this for the last week. That's why I've been in here sweating, getting pissed, because I can't handle it anymore.
Hey, this is Toby from Bad Christian, and you're watching Anti-News. Hey, this is Toby from Bad Christian, and you're watching Anti-News.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lucas from the 29 Toes podcast, and you're watching the Anti-News Live. Fun fact, do you know anything that you drink out of this mug tastes 50% better? You should give it a try. Enjoy the show.
All right. Let us do wrap up the year in a beautiful way with some really important things. I think this might be my favorite story of the year. Maybe not. I mean, we've had a lot of great ones. A lot of great stories this year, especially with all the outrage. But one of my favorites just came in this past week, and it's did you hear about the winner of CNN's Journalist of the Year?
No, I didn't.
All right. I think you're going to get a real kick out of this one. This comes from Breitbart.com, so you know it's legit. Breitbart's been taking a bit of a sad turn lately, but they still give me some good stuff every now and then. From Breitbart.com, winner of CNN's Journalist of the Year awarded faked stories for years.
What?
So
the journalist that was awarded has been faking stories?
Yeah.
And this is like real? Or is this Donald Trump saying that CNN is faking the news?
This is not, even CNN had to report on this, unfortunately. German magazine Der Spiegel apologized to readers Wednesday for publishing quote, invented stories and content with distorted facts by one of its reporters. It identified class reloche. Relotius?
I don't know.
A recent winner of CNN's Journalist of the Year award as confessing to the production of fake news. In recent years, Dr. Spiegel published just under 60 articles by reporter and editor Klaus something. He has now admitted that in several instances he either invented stories or distorted facts. A reporter and editor this guy, we're going to call him Steve because I can't pronounce his name. Klaus, I guess it would be Claas. Klaus, a reporter and editor, falsified his articles on a grand scale and even invented characters, deceiving both readers and his colleagues. This has been uncovered as a result of tips, internal research, and ultimately a comprehensive confession by the editor himself. His deception was discovered after Joanna Moreno, who worked with him on a fabricated story of an American vigilante group paroling the U.S.-Mexican border entitled Hunter's Border, shared his suspicions of his colleague's mendacity with the guy who wrote the article. So this guy came out and had to admit that he was literally making up stories, making up people, making up names and backgrounds and backstories and everything for years. I mean, he was awarded this year.
Nobody called him out on this already.
Right? I mean, are these like piddly nothing stories? They have to be. Just like stuff to push their agenda. It has to be things like, Trump said this back in the day to this person and they blah, blah, blah. Or probably even smaller things like some local outrage and stuff like that he fabricated in order to, it has to be to push his agenda. Why else would you do this? So I think it's beautiful that this comes out because Trump's been calling CNN fake news for the last 2 years, and they've been pushing back on it. It's like, how about now when your not your number one, but awarded Journalist of the Year had to resign, had to quit his job at CNN for literally making up stories and people. Like, this is even more fake news than I would have expected, even from CNN.
I mean, how much of this was pre-planned to get ahead of people actually catching on to the shit that's going on? Like, they've been being said that they were fake news for at least 2 years now, mostly by Trump, but a lot by other people too, especially more recently. And they're like, well, we got to kind of get them off the trail of this. So let's find this nobody guy who reports on not much of anything. Yeah. Let's make him our Journalist of the Year so he sounds like he's a big shot here. And then let's throw all the blame on him. Guys, guess what? We got to apologize. We were faking it, but it was all this guy here, this big shot here. And he's stepping down now, so don't worry. Right. Things are going to get back to the usual. We're gonna
It's kind of like Hollywood's dealing with Harvey Weinstein. Like, oh man, can you believe that he did that? And you know that everybody knew that he was doing shady shit the whole time. But they're like, oh man, look at that guy over there.
Guy was doing. It was all him. Yeah, things are shitty in Hollywood. Look at Harvey Weinstein, but he's gone now. Don't worry.
Right, and don't look at me. Don't look at me. This is a quote from the guy, Klaus. This quote: I am sick, and now I have to allow myself to be helped, he told Dr. Spiegel in his confession. It wasn't because of the next big thing. It was fear of failing. My pressure not to be able to fail got even bigger the more successful I became. Guess what you did, buddy? You failed. You failed hard. You can't succeed in journalistic endeavors when you're reporting on fake things. When you're not doing journalism, that's your failure. Your failure was long before this came out. But I love how
you got to either be a journalist or you got to be a fictional writer.
Right.
You can't be both at the same time. Yeah. It's not possible.
I just love
you can't keep going with it for very long.
Right. I just love how, it's very reminiscent to like Kevin Spacey when his shit came out. And he's like, I feel like now's a good time to point out I'm gay. Just so you know, look at that. But, I mean, this guy's like, oh, man, I had it rough. I had it so rough being the journalist of the year at CNN. Such a hard life and so much stress. Yeah, it was so much stress, and you chose to be there. You could have quit. You could have done a whole lot of different things. But instead, you decided to cheat your job and be a hack. But making it sound like it's a mental issue. Like, I mean, working at CNN is a mental issue, but he's making it sound like, oh, it was just so scary there. I just had no choice. Like a big fucking sympathy bullshit thing.
How did this person, I mean, he went on for 2-3 years, which you said, not get found out then, but how did he get voted Journalist of the Year with this nonsense? Did nobody fact check anything?
Right.
At all?
Exactly. Like, it says just as much about the rest of CNN and their editors and their fact checkers, and I don't know all the different positions that if they're not having to go through different channels of fact checking and making sure things add up, just either they were and people were just letting it slide and they are also to blame, or they weren't checking it and they are even more to blame.
Yeah, the whole thing. I mean, is it going to open up a door to more people being brought out as fake journalists or whatever, or is this going to be just cutting ties and people will just forget about it?
Who knows?
Because,
well, a lot of people, I'm sure, didn't even hear about it.
If one person's doing it, a bunch of people are doing it, which we know this, and it's not just CNN, it's all the major
news
sources.
We're making up stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean we
have a segment called "The Fake News," so
right. So I mean, who's going to call us out? I mean, who's going to call us out on what we claim to be real news if we have a segment titled "The Fake News"? And it's like, well, they got to be reporting on real stuff. If they have a segment dedicated specifically for the fake stuff, they got to be telling the truth.
Yeah, exactly. Did you have? We're getting close to the end here. Did you have another like mainstream story that you want to put in there?
Well, yeah, this one's pretty good and pretty mainstream. Coming up in February with the big sports event. I don't know if you know of the big sports event.
What are you doing over there?
My vape just fell apart. My vape just fell apart sitting next to me.
Sweet. Did it blow up in your hand?
Sports series coming up in February. Do you know that one? Have you heard about it?
The Superdome or something like the Wonder Amazing Bowl? I don't know. Sports.
The Wonder Ball.
What's in my Wonder Bowl? That's what I call my toilet, the Wonder Bowl. Anyway, go ahead.
Leading into the Super Bowl festivities that are coming up, which less people watch the Super Bowl for the game nowadays than they do for the commercials and the Super Bowl halftime show.
Yep.
And
this is all that I watch it for.
This is less about football and more about the halftime show.
Perfect. Then I might be able to weigh in because I often have people over for the Super Bowl and we mute it during the game and just eat food and drink beer and then we take it off mute during the commercials and the halftime show. Right.
Exactly. So apparently the Grapevine reports, I'm not sure who the Grapevine is, but it must be legit. The Grapevine reports that black artists are rejecting offers to perform for the Super Bowl halftime show.
Surprise, surprise.
You want to know why? I will tell you why. Why do you think?
I'm guessing because of Colin Kaepernick.
No, I don't think so. Not according to this first paragraph.
Okay.
Or the second, it doesn't look like. So it says, after being offered the chance of a lifetime to perform in front of 100 million viewers, some of the music industry's biggest stars, including the illustrious Cardi B, who would want to see that at the Super Bowl in the first place?
Ugh.
I mean, yeah, right?
I mean, how do you do the edited versions of Cardi B songs?
Right. Andre 3000 and Usher, or Ursher, as some people call him, have reportedly responded to offers to perform at halftime Super Bowl by telling the National Football League, "Nah, bro, I'm good."
Is that the direct quote from all of them?
Well, it's in quotation marks, so it's gotta be.
That sounds a little racist that they assume that every single black person who refused used the exact line, "Nah, bro, I'm good."
No, it's "Nah, bruh. Nah, bruh."
Is it really?
B-R-U-H. Yeah, I'm good.
Oh my gosh.
The NFL reportedly And I think this is what I'm gathering is the key reason for this. The NFL reportedly tapped the Alabaster quintuplet Maroon 5 to play the halftime show in this year's big game set for February 3rd in Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz Stadium. From what I'm gathering, and you'll hear it in this next paragraph, is they're pissed that in Alabama, a very I don't know if it's what town it's at, or no, it's Atlanta. Atlanta, very prominently black culture down there.
Yes.
They pulled a super white band to play as the main headliner for the Super Bowl, and we're pissed about that.
So they're mad that Maroon 5 is white.
Says that's right. The brilliant.
I'm starting to wonder about the grapevine here. Did anybody else report on this?
I don't know. Says that's right. The brilliant minds at NFL headquarters asked the whitest group since the Oak Ridge Boys to headline the biggest event in the city, whose music scene is this generation's version of Motown. When the Super Bowl was in Minnesota, no one positioned for the Yin Yang Twins to headline that halftime show performance. What?
Nope.
I don't even know what that means. We were cool with Justin Timberlake performing his Man in the Woods bullshit, but Maroon 5 in Atlanta? Well, that's Minnesota. It's like ultra white.
Yeah, but still, I mean, at the very least, Justin Timberlake's got some R&B vibes and stuff, so we'll let it slide.
Sure. I didn't realize that the Super Bowl was only representative of the city that it was being played at.
Right.
So it says, according to
Variety...
Which the
city that they're playing in is not the city for either of the two teams, so what difference does it make?
So it says, according to Variety, Maroon 5 has approached Cardi B, Mary J. Blige, and Andre 3000, who have all declined the offer to perform for free as second billing.
Andre 3000 should have jumped on that. What was the last thing he did?
I don't even know what he's ever done.
It's from Outkast.
Okay. They all declined the offer to perform for free as second billing to the musical equivalent of a mayonnaise milkshake. Now, can you picture this flipped in Minnesota? Like flip-flop.
Right.
Like where we have a black artist performing in a predominantly white neighborhood, and people are like,
and a bunch of
I can't believe
black
they
guys
get,
headlining, and all the white people are outraged and refuse to play.
Right, and the white people are like, Kanye West is the equivalent of a chocolate fudge milkshake.
I don't think they like him on their team anymore.
Maybe not Kanye. Okay,
I knew you were going to say Jay-Z.
Jay-Z is the equivalent of a chocolate fudge milkshake with what else is black in the food world with burnt toast on top? I don't know. Something this is just like, how do you not declare this blatant racism?
Right.
Like, how can you? I get that reverse racism doesn't exist. You can't be racist towards white people.
I agree. Reverse racism doesn't exist. It's called racism.
It's just racism. Other names like Usher and Nicki Minaj are reportedly in the mix. Organizers have also reportedly approached Lauryn Hill, who will probably have to be told she's performing during the pregame show if they want her chakras to align by halftime.
What?
Rihanna reportedly returned down the offer to show solidarity with Colin Kaepernick, like you mentioned. It's probably a lot more to do with that.
That's kind of what I think.
Although it must be noted that every other photo shows Rihanna chilling on a faraway beach with a blunt in her hand, looking unbothered.
What does that have to do with anything? Looking unbothered.
Why would the Fenty mogul?
I mean, I kind of see what she's saying, or what they're saying, that she's like not doing anything outside of boycotting the NFL, which she has nothing to do with regularly. She's boycotting this thing that is no skin off her back. And not really doing anything in the Colin Kaepernick outrage camp outside of that.
It says of her, why would the Fenty mogul give that up to play sidekick to the Cloroxed version of mint condition?
Good Lord.
Jay-Z reportedly turned down the same offer last year, leading many to speculate that his lack of interest was also support of Colin Kaepernick. He addressed the rumor in apeshit when he rapped in the duet with some lady named Beyonce. Who is this reporter? I said no to the Super Bowl. You need me. I don't need you. Every night we in the end zone. Tell the NFL we in stadiums too. That's Jay-Z's line with somebody named Beyonce.
Right.
I don't want to downplay the popularity or the appeal of Maroon 5. They are considered the most popular band of the 21st century, which is a pretty big deal, even though we aren't even 20% done with the century. It's saying the 21st century so far. We can't predict what hasn't happened yet.
Right.
The Burgundy Boys, as they call them, the Burgundy Boys are perfectly fine, even though Adam Levine is now considered to be trash since he threw a black artist under the bus on The Voice last week. I don't really know anything about The Voice, so I don't give a shit.
That sounds like a new story on its own. He probably didn't like the sound of his voice, but of course he's a racist because he was black.
If the NFL had scheduled Maroon 5 to play in one of the NFL's whiter cities, it would have been okay. Isn't there something in Green Bay they could sing at? Perhaps they could become the official band of the New England Patriots.
Who cares?
Scheduling Maroon
What doesn't make any
5
sense in all of this is that they're outraged that Maroon 5's playing because they're white people in a black city. They're asking the black people to play, and they're turning it down in the black city. Like, that's on you. Like, just because the main headliner isn't black doesn't mean that they're being racist.
But the openings are unpaid, so they'd have to do it for free.
I thought they were all unpaid.
Well, I don't know. It mentioned unpaid about the openers. It didn't say anything about the headliner. They failed to point that out for one reason or another. Says asking Maroon 5 to perform in Atlanta is like going to Beyonce's house and telling her to turn off Lemonade because you wanted to listen to the unreleased Taylor Swift album titled Room Temperature LaCroix.
It's not, though. It's not at all. In so many ways, that's not what it is.
Oh.
I do think it would have been smart for the NFL to bow in this, to give a show of whatever support, I suppose, to the Kaepernick fans. Like, have Jay-Z or somebody be the headliner. Who cares? But I mean, the fact that they said Maroon 5 is like the biggest band in the century, that shows why they would want to have Maroon 5 play.
Well, I just figured out who the Grapevine is.
Does it have to do with The Root?
But since The Root is all about solutions, we have some suggestions for artists that might agree to appear with Maroon 5. It says Jacques or Waquies, Jaquuees. He might be willing to do it for his royal subject since he's the king of R&B. What does that mean? Chrisette Michele, she has proven she is willing to cross over into white territory and build bridges. I promise she won't kneel. Tekashi 69, the NFL has proven they don't care about criminal past, so he's perfect. R. Kelly.
So they're sarcastically bringing up these people as like, well, you could ask these people because they don't have any moral values. They would be willing to sing with white schmucks.
Right. Earth, Wind, and Dolezal. It's a cover band that only plays white covers of black songs, including Taylor Swift's cover of September and this acoustic cover of Cardi B's Bodak Yellow. And it gives a video, which I'm not going to play. All jokes aside, no one is wondering...
I'd say that's enough.
All jokes aside, this last sentence.
Okay,
all jokes aside, no one is wondering why black artists don't care about performing for the NFL. After all, by banning Colin Kaepernick, the NFL has proven it doesn't give a damn about black lives.
Obviously, yep.
So
this from
last year,
the extreme black supremacist group, The Root, which we have covered before on the show. It is absolutely absurd that there's not people outraged and freaking out about them. If a white guy spoke even a fraction of the way they did, they would have bricks through their window. And I know that sounds very bad because that happened in the past to black people. But if you're a racist, you're a racist, no matter what color you are. I'm sorry.
So last year, I'm pretty sure it was last year, Beyonce played. The year before that, or 2 years prior to that, I think Beyonce played. So a couple of years before that, what's his name? The guy who sings 24 Karat Magic. I don't know. I hate
Bruno
him.
Mars.
Bruno Mars, yes. I hate him. He played. But so the NFL doesn't give a damn about black people, but yet they consistently have
the Black Eyed
black
Peas played
headliners for
recently,
the Super.
and
Are they black?
all but Fergie.
Just kidding.
They're mixed.
Right. So, I mean, that's been about 8 or 9 years ago now. So
Sure. Well, I don't pay that close attention. I know that Coldplay played not that long ago, and I would say they might be whiter than Maroon 5.
But Beyonce came out during. Well, I guess that's the thing. She wasn't the headliner. Beyonce came out during, and that was just a weird halftime show.
Did
because
her Black Panther march.
Yeah, and they videoed it like it was a pre-filmed music video. It was just really weird to watch. I don't believe that it was actually taking place live, in my opinion. But
I don't think any of them do, honestly. Maybe if it's just like a vocalist or like Katy Perry, the Black Eyed Peas or something where they don't have a band. I don't think any of the instrumentation at least is live.
Well, they're not. They won't let them play live.
I know that the Chili Peppers didn't.
Chili Peppers left
they
their
made
shit
it
unplugged.
Yeah, they wanted to make it obvious that they weren't allowed to play live, and people freaked out about it. And they came out with a statement saying, "Yeah, it's because they didn't let us play live, so we just didn't even plug in, so it would be obvious." I wonder if the headliners do, but it would surprise me if they did. They
don't have time for sound checks, is what I heard, so they don't allow them to play live.
Right. And with the Chili Peppers, they just played like a couple ditties here and there. Like they barely even played a full song, I don't think. So that was whatever to me.
I think they were with Bruno Mars.
Something like that.
Sure. Yeah, that was the year. That's the year I was called racist by my officer because he asked if I liked one of the football players, and I was like, I was just happy the guy got injured during the game because he was one of those. He was one that was like, can't think of his name now, but he played for the Seahawks, and he ran his mouth like all season long, and he just was a piece of shit. And then he got injured during the Super Bowl, and this guy made a point. He was like, "Oh, how'd you feel about so-and-so?" I was like, I'm just glad he got hurt. I don't like him. He's like, "Oh, it's because you're racist." I was like, "I'm not racist."
Sure am. Okay, fine, whatever.
He was like, "What'd you think about Bruno Mars?" I was like, "Honestly, I don't like Bruno Mars at all. Man. I did like the Chili Peppers performing, though." And he's like, "Oh, you're totally racist." Nice. He's like, "I thought that was the best performance on the Super Bowl ever." I was like, "That's not true." I was like, "The Who played in the Super Bowl." I was like, "The Rolling Stones played a couple years ago." I know. And he's like, "Yeah, but they're all white, obviously." I'm just like, "Oh my God." No, they're rock. So.
Yep. Whatever. Reverse racism doesn't exist. Racism is real in every form and shape and color. And if you don't like people based on their color, then you're a fucking moron. And if you think that the NFL, if you're using strictly them booking a band that has white people in it as the evidence that they don't care about black people, then you're a moron. And everybody at the root, to my knowledge, is an idiot and a moron and should stop what you're doing right now. You're not helping anybody or anything. You are the outrage culture embodied in all of the ugliest ways, and I despise them.
Freaking cancer. Like, the cancer of America thrives out of sites like this.
Yes. Absolutely. And are you saying sites like The Root or sites like AntiNewsLive.com? If you want to hear more about this show, you can go over to AntiNewsLive.com. And this show comes out typically every Wednesday. This one will probably come out on a Thursday. We're a little set back because of, the holidays and spending time with the fam and such. But again, if you want to support the show and our evil ways, you can sign up for the Downers Club for as little as $5 a month by going to patreon.com/The System Is Down and joining the Downers Club. Now, we do have some other things to talk about. I've got a few more stories. Craig's got a few more stories that we're going to talk about in the extended episode of this that we call the After Party of the Anti-News. That is available to everyone who is in the Downers Club. It will be coming out at the same time. So if you want access to that, again, go over to the Patreon. But Craig, do you want to give some spoiler sneak peek leaks at some of the stories that you've got going?
Oh, sure. I've got one about racists in the Women's March. I won't go.
Are the women still marching?
Into detail, but
okay, we'll save it. We'll save it.
Yeah,
we're gonna find out.
And then people apologizing to otters.
Makes sense.
I mean, we got we got to hit the big stories.
Obviously.
And then I also got one of Rand Paul referring to somebody as a big shot in the Star Wars franchise.
All right. I'm looking forward to that one for sure. And my
two
main ones, I've got some behind the scenes looks at a few things that I want to get into, things about the show that we share with the Downers Club members only, but my two main stories from the news are we got to talk briefly about Ruth Bader Ginsburg back in the hospital, just grasping onto life every single week. And we, of course, have to talk about the late, great Kevin Spacey and his latest antics and horror.
That's the video that I wanted you to play that I couldn't remember what video it was.
That's what
So you need to play
we'll talk about it after. I said the Frank video, but you thought I was talking about something else. Anyway, that's enough for this. Thank you guys for listening, and tune in next time for, whatever happens as we cross over into the year of our Lord 2019, leaving the year of the Orange Devil 2018. I don't know what's going to happen.
The year of our Lord doesn't exist anymore. It's not AD anymore. It's CE now. I don't know if you realize this, but I realized it once I started. No, when I started going to college, I realized that at some point someone changed it to CE, Common Era, instead of AD, Anno Domini, or whatever it is.
All right, well, we can
Anno Domini.
We can talk about the Mandela effect more in the after party, but thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next year. We'll see you next week on the Anti-News. Until then, have fun.
Yep.
Here's my pledge to you. I will be a commander-in-chief that will have the back of the military. I won't trash talk. I won't be a divider-in-chief or an agitator-in-chief. I won't be out there blowharding, talking a big game without backing it up. I think the next president needs to be a lot quieter, but send a signal that we're prepared to act in the national security interests of this country to get back in the business of creating a more peaceful world. Please clap.